On the build show today, we're going to give you some guidance on selecting countertops. Granite, quartz, marble, all the options. I've got a fabulous builder, actually a second generation builder, Stephanie Dailey, who's been shooting videos now on thebuildshow.com for about 2 years. So this is actually a best of the build show video. With that being said, countertop choices, let's get going. Boop.
Hey guys, Stephanie Dailey with Stephen Dailey Construction, and today we are going to be talking about all things countertop material. We're going to talk a little bit about where you should and shouldn't use certain types of material, an overall cost range from lowest to highest, and really some of these unique materials that you're going to want to learn more about. Let's get going. All right, we know and we've all seen granite. This has been a really common material that we've used for a number of years, and probably the most popular type of material from the early 2000s on. Granite is a natural stone, and there's a ton of different color options and material types when we're talking about granite. I think a lot of us think of granite and see the big chunky styles that we're used to seeing, and that is more common with the granite type materials. I have two different materials here that are both granites, and they are two different thicknesses as well. So this is a 3 cm material and this is a 2 cm material. And that's really just the thickness of the stone itself. With granite, it is a natural stone. So when we look at it from the side, and maybe we'll use this one. When we look at it from the side, you can actually see the stone coming all the way through. This edge is not polished where the front is. So in a case like this kitchen behind us, if they just did the 3 cm material, this edge would get finished and polished and would look really nice like this quartz does behind us. But with the granite, you do have the option to, you'll see people build up the edge, miter the edge, do a different edge detail, and that's really common with any of these materials. But granite does give you the option to just polish the edge and it looks really nice and pretty. There are granites that are really inexpensive, and there are some granites that are very expensive. So it really just depends on where the stone is coming from, what quarry it's being cut out of, what country it's coming from. The cost of it ranges just depending on its location most of the time. One of the things with granite, just when we're talking about upkeep and maintenance, this stuff does have to be sealed. So depending on who you talk to, some countertop fabricators will tell you every 6 to 12 months you should put a coat on it and seal it. Other people will tell you 3 to 5 years you can put a coat on it. Our kitchen at home does have granite in it, and I can tell you I probably have sealed it once in the entire time we have lived there. So not a very common thing. It doesn't mean that the stone is going to get completely damaged, but what I can tell you is it is a porous material. So if you are in the habit of like not using a cutting board and you put raw chicken on the countertop, if it's granite, it's gonna go right into the stone itself and it'll absorb all the germs, all the bacteria, and then whatever you put on that stone right after it will transfer the same germs and bacteria. So that's kind of a downfall to granite, but it is a very beautiful natural stone. Next one we're gonna talk about, I think will probably be quartz. So quartz is a really common material today. This is probably the most common material that we're seeing being used today. It's what's in the kitchen that I'm currently in. Quartz gives you a lot of really good options, and there's some great pros and cons to quartz as well. So you can get more solid colors, like the sample you see here. This is just a white concrete look, and there is tons of quartz options. So this is also another type of quartz. This is something that they were trying to mimic the look of concrete with. And that's kind of the beauty of quartz, is they can mimic the look of just about anything. The kitchen that we're currently in has a marble look countertop, but it is quartz. We've got some others back here as well that are a little more chunky, and they add a little bit of sparkle to it. So lots and lots of good options when it comes to quartz material. What is quartz? So it is a man-made material. This stuff is near bulletproof. The one thing I will tell you is if you're the type of cook that likes to take hot things off of the stove and set them on your countertop, this is the wrong material for you. This is man-made, so they put it all together with glue. And so thinking about that, when you put a hot pan on top of this material, the glues and the resins that are in it can get damaged. And this is just not the right choice in material if you're the type of cook that likes to set hot pans on the counter. Now, the pros to quartz is it's not porous. You don't have to seal it. So with granite and marble, which we'll talk about in a minute, you do have to seal them, you have to upkeep them, they're natural stones, they are porous, quartz is not. So you don't have to worry as much if you're that cook that takes raw chicken and puts it on the countertop to cut it. This is your material. This won't absorb germs, it won't absorb a lot of things. It actually doesn't stain quite as easy as some of these others do as well. And when we get to the end, we're gonna do a little bit of a stain test so I can kind of show you what would and wouldn't work for different types of people. So quartz is great for the busy family. It's great for people with lots of kids. It's a really bulletproof material. Not good if you are a cook that likes to put hot stuff on the counter. So great material. Quartz, when we're talking about price point, you can get some builder grade quartz for pretty cheap. There's some that, like our local fabricators have 6 different slabs that they'll consider to be like their builder line. And if you pick one of those 6, you can just buy as little square footage as you need for the project, versus like a more unique quartz slab where you'd have to purchase the entire slab. And if you don't use it, it just goes into their remnant yard. Those stock builder grade quartz can range from $30 to $60 a square foot, which is really, really inexpensive. And that is a fabricated cost. So that does include the fabrication. Whereas like some of your granites can get up over $100 a square foot, but there are granites as well that are $50, $60, $70 a square foot. But quartz, I would say on average, most of the houses that we're bidding when we include a quartz material, I'm usually including a budget of $75 to $85 a square foot, and that'll cover most materials that clients want with the quartz itself. Now, when we're talking about the polished edges, with a quartz material, the color or pattern doesn't go all the way through the material itself. So you see a lot of people miter the edges and do like a built-up edge so that you can see the pattern continue through, similar to how you would have with a granite itself. It looks like a natural stone. So quartz material, a lot of times they're mitering the edges. It does also come in 2cm or 3cm, just depending on which slabs you pick. That's a 2cm. There's an example of a 3cm. So you can see there's a little bit of a difference here. Usually the thicker material is more expensive, but it also kind of depends on what your local fabricator stocks. So one of our fabricators we use here in town, Bedrock Quartz, they may stock the cloudburst in a 3cm and a 2cm is a special order. So the thicker material ends up being less expensive. So just do your research, ask your fabricator what materials they stock, because sometimes the thicker material might be less expensive just depending on what their standard is. So quartz is a great option. I love the quartz material. You can really, like I said, get anything from something that looks like granite and marble in a quartz all the way up to something that looks like concrete or a solid material. That's probably the widest variety when we're talking about different types of material. This last one I have here on the end is marble. This is, and always has been, a very popular material to use in homes, but it's definitely coming back around again right now. And we're seeing a lot of people use marble for a lot of things. Now, this is soft. Marble is a soft material. If you are a household with a lot of kids, if you're an active household, this is not the best material for you. But if you like to take care of things and you are really careful with it, this is beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and a great, great material to use. But some things to know with marble, it's very, very soft and it stains really easily. So we're gonna do a little test here at the end with 2 things. Most of these materials will stain with a red wine or a coffee. And then if you have, like, let's say a glass of ice cold water that you set on top of the countertop and it gets the condensation on the outside of it and drips down, with marble, you will see a water ring on this countertop. It is just very, very porous. It'll absorb a lot of things. You will need to maintain it like you do granite. You need to seal it, you need to stay on top of it. But this is not for the busy household with a bunch of kids. This is really going to be for someone that understands the material that they're purchasing and understands what comes with it, because it can stain and it's just a little more temperamental. But when we're talking about marble, there are a lot of great options with marble. So I think we all think of marble and we think of what we just saw. White slab with some veining through it, that's very beautiful. But marble comes in a lot of different types of slabs. So this is Athos. This is one of my personal favorites. We are using this on a project currently. It's a beautiful slab. It is a perfect stone to use if you want to backlight it. And if you've seen on my Instagram, we do a lot of backlit slabs in like theaters and kitchens and things. But this will let a lot of light through the slab itself. So it's really beautiful. You can see kind of the chunks and the flakes that come through it. But again, soft material, will stain easily. It needs to be sealed. It needs the maintenance and upkeep that quartz does not, but it is a stunning material. Here are two other, we're typically used to seeing white marble. These are also both marble. So here we have Cristallo Rosa. This is actually, they call it Wow, is the slab itself, but it is this beautiful, beautiful rosy pink marble. And then this one, which is one of my favorites, Calcutta Azul. They call it Extra. So there are lots of marbles, lots of different colors, lots of variation in marble. And you'll see as you look through some of these, some have bigger chunks of crystals, others are a little more compact. Ton of variety, a lot to choose from. But another thing to keep in mind as you're selecting marble or granite is that they are natural stone. So these are cut out of the side of mountains. They cut these huge chunks, take them through a machine that slices them into little pieces. And so as they cut through the mountain, the pattern and the look of the slab will change because it's natural stone. So the stone slabs you're seeing today may be different than what they're cutting out of the side of the mountain 6 months from now. So if you are going to pick a natural stone slab, it's always best to go to your fabricator or go to your closest slab showroom and kind of wander around and actually select the specific slabs that you want when you're talking about natural stone, just because there is so much variation, things can change. Best to find the one you like. So that's marble. Marble's a really great option, just knowing that it takes some maintenance. I would never really recommend people use marble in bathrooms or kitchens, which is kind of our two main areas that we're using it, because of glasses, wine, coffee, things that can spill on the countertops itself. If you used it on the side of a fireplace, on your bookshelves or something, that's a perfect location for it. But it is just more susceptible to staining. And like I said, it's a pretty soft material. However, I do have some clients that have used it in bathrooms and kitchens recently, and they love it. They swear by it. They just know how to maintain it. They've lived with marble for a long time, so they understand the product. And if that's you and you understand the product, then it's probably a really great material for you. Marble is on the more expensive side though. So as we're talking about slab materials and what they cost, marble's gonna be on the higher end. Most marbles, you're gonna have to purchase an entire slab. You can't just buy a certain square footage amount. So you're gonna buy a 5x10 slab, and if you only use half of it, then the other half ends up in your fabricator's remnant yard. So if you are looking for a smaller piece, just a tip and side note, go to your fabricator's yards. They're going to have a ton of remnant slabs from people who didn't use the entire slab on their project. And you might be able to find some smaller stuff that'll fit bathroom vanities and things that would be more unique slabs. So that's a really good option. There are two other types of material that I want to talk to you about today, one of which we don't have a sample of, and that's going to be quartzite. So a lot of people hear quartz and quartzite and think they're the same thing. They're very different. So quartz is your man-made material that is this stuff here. Quartz, man-made, you don't need to worry about sealing it, nearly bulletproof, just don't put hot stuff on it. Quartzite is a natural stone, similar to granite and marble. It is going to be more on the expensive line, like marble is. Quartzite is very, very beautiful and really common today. Many of you have probably heard of Taj Mahal. That's probably I would say the most popular slab that we're installing in homes today. Most houses have Taj Mahal in one place or another, but it's a really beautiful slab. It looks very similar to a marble where it has the veining. It's got a lot of beautiful finishes and crystals and things that are in it, but natural stone will need to be sealed, will absorb germs, bacteria, all kinds of things. And so that can be a little tricky slab, but it is beautiful. Just don't mix up quartz and quartzite because they're two very different things. Last but not least is another material I want to talk to you about today. It's called Decton. Now, Cosentino makes a handful of different materials. They have a silestone line, which is very similar to quartz, but Decton is one of their products that they make that is really, really unique. And I have three different samples here of different Dectons. We'll talk about this first one here. So Decton is made of sand, glass, recycled products from quartz, fabrication, all kinds of things. And they put all of this material into a machine and compress it at a really, really high PSI. And that's what makes Decton. This stuff is bulletproof. They use this on the exterior as cladding on the outside of buildings. They use it as floor material, countertop material. It does come in sheets, just like your countertop slabs do. Most of them are about 5 by 10, but this is used on the outside of buildings. It's used on your floor. It's used on your countertops. And if you go to a Cosentino showroom and they have the Decton there, the way they're going to show you Decton's flexibility and bulletproofness is they are going to, at least in my showroom, they paint nail polish on it. They dump nail polish remover on it. They clean the nail polish off. They'll write on it with a Sharpie. They'll pour gasoline on it, light it on fire, wipe it down. Looks good as new. So if you are a family that has a lot of kids, or just you personally are really rough on things, or you don't really want to have to put a lot of thought into, did I seal that countertop last month or did I not? If you just want something that's bulletproof, Decton is the right material for you. This stuff comes in a lot of different looks. So what we're seeing here is a mimic of a Calcutta, like a black marble. So they do a lot of really cool different styles. This is Argentum. This is from their industrial line. So they do a whole line of slabs that looks like rusted metal and concrete. So this is one that's supposed to replicate concrete. And then this one here is Lunar. This is another great one that kind of replicates more of a granite material itself. But this stuff, like you can see, compared to even a 2 cm material, this stuff's very thin. It's bulletproof. You're not going to hurt it. You're never going to scratch it. You're never going to break it. You're never going to melt something that's in it. It is a thinner material. So when we talk about using it in kitchens and in bathrooms, we'll want to miter, build up an edge and miter it so that it comes together and you can still see this same pattern coming over the edge. But it does have a ton of flexibility. We've used it on floors, and like I said, they use it outdoors, which is really amazing. This is a great product. In my market in Salt Lake City, Utah, Decton is a little more expensive. It's on the higher line. I would say depending on the slab you choose, it's probably closer to that $100 a square foot mark. But again, this is something that you really can install and forget about. You never have to worry about what you're cleaning it with. Did you seal it? Didn't you seal it? If something's going to stain it, it's 100% bulletproof. So this is a great, great product. I highly recommend this. And like I said, if you're a busy family, this is the stuff for you, if you just never want to think about it. So overall, countertop materials, we have a ton of really great options, and there's tons more stuff out there than what I'm showing you here today. This is probably the most common stuff that we're using on an everyday basis in my market. One of the things I want to show you is staining. So like I said, some of these will stain really, really easily. Red wine, mustard, coffee, and then your condensation from glasses. Those are things that are really going to affect these slabs. So we're going to lay out some samples of the more white colored slabs and show you what the staining looks like. All right, so we'll use this one. This is the whitest quartz that we've got. Quartz material. Let's use Oh, here, we have a really big piece of marble here. I don't want to risk the Athos. So this is marble. We'll use this one in the middle, and then we'll use this granite. So again, these two on the end are natural stones. These are some that you should seal. These have a polished finish on them now because they are polished from the fabricator themselves. So they haven't been sealed. They don't have any chemicals on them currently. We don't have red wine, but we're going to use beet juice, which will stain just as much as red wine would. And we'll be careful here that we don't spill it on the rest of the countertops as I spill. So some of the big things, like I said, coffee, red wine, mustard, all kinds of things. Those will stain countertops. The other big thing is going to be water. So just for show, we're going to get this wet and then drip a little bit of water on some of these. If you have granite, you've probably noticed this at home in the past. And what I mean by that is, like, if you set a cup on top of the material itself for a long time, or if you leave a splotch of water on the material and don't wipe it up right away, when you go to wipe it up, you'll notice it's just a little darker than the rest of the slab. That's really common. It will air out. It will dry itself out over time. But some of the things that are going to stain your countertops, like the coffee and the red wine and the mustard, those are really hard to get out. The stains are really difficult. You can bring someone in to polish the countertops and to try and get some of those out, but they're just not materials that are super stain proof. So let me grab some paper towels and we will wipe these off and see where we're at. All right, I did put a little bit of the beet juice on a Decton slab as well, and we're just gonna let that sit because it's gonna do its thing and it won't stain. We can leave it on there for days and it'll be fine. So these, we poured this on. It's been sitting for about 60 seconds. We'll leave the quartz and let it kind of do its thing, but we'll start with the marble. The marble's in the middle. We'll wipe the water off first. You can see right here, the darkness in the slab and the stuff you're seeing over here, that's the absorption of the water over a total of about 60 seconds. And again, that's the marble. So you leave water on it, you spill water on it, hurry, turn around, grab a napkin to wipe it off, and it's already absorbed the water. So the beet juice, again, 60 seconds. So imagine your kid coming in, knocking over your cup of coffee or your glass of wine or making themselves a sandwich and getting the mustard on the countertop. That is less than 2 minutes worth of time on the slab and it's already stained. So again, that's why I kind of say, like, this is not really the best material for kitchen countertops. Bathrooms, your makeup, so foundation, blush, certain things like that. If you were to spill on that, that's going to do the same thing. So next one is the granite. Now this is a little bit of a darker slab, so we might not see as much happening here, but let's wipe it off. Let's see. Yeah, so this slab, you can't even really see that it's absorbed anything, which is a good thing. It might be, you can see a little bit of the red up here. That might be because it has more color in it and it's hiding a little bit of it. I can see that there's a little bit of water that's absorbed in the bottom there. But with the amount of variety that's happening in here, you're not seeing it as noticeable as you are here on the marble. So good material, will still stain, but if you get one that has some movement in it, like that one there, you're not really gonna notice it as much. So the quartz that we've got here, short of the beet juice drying on it, this stuff is a little dirty, but didn't absorb it one bit. So that's the beauty of quartz, is you can spill on it, your kids could spill on it, it can sit there for hours. It's not gonna stain it. And really this stuff is bulletproof. It's great if you're not the person that puts hot stuff on your counters. But again, not a great material if you're taking something off the stove and setting it down. Last is the Decton, which we have sitting over there still. It's been sitting over there for a couple minutes. It's not going to stain it. It doesn't matter how long we let it sit. It'll wipe up completely. We could put that piece of material outside, light it on fire, wipe it off, and it would look just as good as it does sitting there on the countertop. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Countertop materials can be really tricky. It's hard to know what's the right material for you. It's hard to know what's the right material for your family, but just rely on those around you to give you good information. Go visit your fabricators, visit the slab showrooms. They're all going to have some level of demonstration that they're going to do for you to show you the resilience of different types of slabs. And they're all going to have different recommendations as well on how to maintain and care for them. So when you do get new countertops installed in your home, be sure to ask for care instructions. Those are all really good things to know. These materials that are more porous, you obviously don't want to be using bleach, and it's going to absorb things. So just keep that in mind. It's always best to just use dish soap, water, really soft chemicals on it. Hopefully this was helpful and you learned a little bit more about countertops and countertop materials. Thank you guys so much for watching. Follow me on Instagram at Stephanie Builds It, and we'll see you next time on The Build Show.
Guys, big thanks to Stephanie Dailey with this fabulous video. If you want to see more of Stephanie Dailey, she's on thebuildshow.com. She's been with us now for about 2 years. This has been a best of The Build Show, but my hope is that in watching this video, you're going to learn every Tuesday about a new contributor over on thebuildshow.com. Definitely follow Stephanie at Stephanie Builds It on Instagram, but go check out our other content on thebuildshow.com. And lastly, in the description below, we're going to have a link to our newsletter. Click that, sign up for our newsletter, because every Tuesday and every Friday, my team is going to send you a video that says, here's the 6 new videos that got posted since the last newsletter, so you can keep up with everything new. Now, will you watch every video? Probably not, but you're going to see 2 or 3 things that will catch your eye and that you're going to want to watch. The other big benefit of our website, thebuildshow.com, one short ad, usually a 15-second ad, then the video plays in its entirety. We don't ever break in like some of the other video players, wink wink, with ads. So you get to watch everything totally free. There's no paywalls anywhere. We just have that short commercial before you get started. And that's how we pay for it. So everything on thebuildshow.com is free. With that being said, guys, hit the subscribe button below. We've got new content every Tuesday and every Friday. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.